We just want to say hi, and we're happy to be here. Do you want to say hello as well?
Yes, and Frida will do the first part of the presentation, and I will sit down during that.
Yes, thank you. She will come back, don't worry. Okay, so thank you for having us to this important day, this important conference. We are very glad to be here. So hello to all of you in the room and all of you listening in online. I'm the one who's supposed to start the presentation, yeah. Sorry. Maybe you can take an opportunity just to stretch a little bit. I mean, we've been sitting, listening all day, get a little bit of energy in the body so we can keep on going, do whatever you need. Don't leave the room though. Okay. Okay, great, thank you. I mean, you're doing a lot of effort here today to sit and take in all of these important messages as well. So you need to also be proud of yourself for digesting all of this information and make sure that you can continue during the day. Okay, so we come from the NGO, non-governmental organization, Friends. We're from Sweden. Friends was founded in 1997. It's actually the same year that Childline was founded, so we are the same age, our organizations. And we have been talking a lot today about youth participation and the importance of bringing youth to any solutions that we try to apply on this important matter. And Friends was actually founded by a youth. She was then 18 years old. Her name was Sarah, and she was severely bullied during her school years. And she founded Friends because she strongly believed, and still believe, that one voice can make a difference, because that was her experience when she was being bullied. In school, when she was totally alone, totally ostracized, no one spoke to her, she was not included, she was not having that feeling of belonging that we heard about before. Then it was actually one child, another classmate, who stood up and maybe didn't stand up and say, please stop the bullying, but he started to do small things to include her. He started to say hello to her in the hallway. He started to sit next to her in the cafeteria while having lunch. And that slowly changed her situation, because he was a popular guy, the guy who did this. And then other people started to join, other students. So the situation for Sarah flipped because of starting with one voice. So I think we should bring that with us today, and it is important for us as an organization to always remember that one voice can make a difference. But that was in 1997, more than 25 years ago. We've been around since then, doing bullying prevention efforts in Sweden. But as the moderator mentioned before, we are also founders of the World Anti-Bullying Forum, and I wanted to take the opportunity here to invite you all to the next World Anti-Bullying Forum, which is in 2025 in June in Norway, in Stavanger. So it's kind of close. It's not far from Lithuania to go to Norway. So please check that out and come with us and the rest of the bullying prevention community of the world to spend 3 days engaging in solutions and learning from each other. Okay. We'll talk today about cyberbullying or online bullying, or whatever term you would like to use, and also what youth recommend that we do. We heard this number before. Someone mentioned that 1 in 6 school-aged children experience cyberbullying. This is data from the Health, Behavior and School-Aged Children compiled all the countries. And as you can see, about 12% of the adolescents report that they are cyberbullying others. Boys a little bit more than girls, 14% of the boys and 9% of the girls. And this is an increase from the last measurement in 2018. And also when we ask them about cyberbullying experiences of being cyberbullied. This has also increased comparing to the last data. So it's gone up from 12 to 15% for boys and from 13 to 16% for girls. So it is an increasing problem, and of course, some of the answer to that increase is that more children are online. It's the same pattern. If you spend more time in school, you also get more bullying because you're more time there. So if you spend more time online, there's also more exposure, of course. But that's not the whole answer to this problem. And I would also like to remind us all just briefly about the consequences of bullying that has been mentioned throughout the day. This is data from Sweden, from one of our own surveys with more than 3,000 Swedish students who have been answering this survey. And we don't have to dig into the numbers. You just have to see the stair, so to speak, the steps, the increasing amount of mental health problems. That this picture is very clear that mental health problems increase with the frequency of bullying, because the one over there, the low one, that's the students who are not subjected to any form of bullying, and the fourth one there are if you're subjected twice a week or more often. So you see that it's a clear picture that mental health problems increase with the frequency of bullying. And this goes for a lot of different problems. Like if you're alone a lot, if you're subjected to sexual harassment, if you're bullied several periods during your lifespan, all of this increases mental health problems. So we just have to keep this in mind when we discuss these matters. Okay, so this is a statement that you hear quite a lot when we adults, because we are mostly adults in this room, we discuss children and their lives, and we sometimes mention this, that, well, children, they don't differentiate between their online and offline world. It's the same for them. But I would like to remind you that, it's the same for us. We don't do that either. I think most of us have social media accounts. I think most of us have smartphones. I think most of us communicate with others through online tools, through online platforms. And at least if I just go to myself, I have relationships with my friends, with my partner, with my family, with my coworkers. And those relationships, I build them when we meet each other, me and Lisen, when we travel to Lithuania, when we sit on the plane, we go sit and work together, but we also communicate through messages on the phone, we are friends on Instagram. So that is also part of our relationship. So that's actually not different when it comes to youth and adults. So I think we could also bear that in mind today. And that you have to see the problem of bullying as the whole picture of their life. But bearing that in mind, they still call us the dated generation, that we're outdated, that we don't really get it. But we also have some knowledge what it is to build relationships and to communicate in different platforms. Okay. And the mechanisms between online bullying and face-to-face bullying are somewhat the same. It's the same underlying causes, it's just in different platforms, but there could be some things that are different. So I would like to talk to you a little bit about moral disengagement. There's tons of research about moral disengagement and bullying. And if I were to explain the concept of moral disengagement, it would be something like when you behave badly, if you do something that is not good towards someone else, but you do that without feeling any guilt, or you don't feel regret, or you don't feel any self-blame, or maybe just a little bit, but it's not important. That is when you have a high level of moral disengagement. And a high degree of moral disengagement makes a student more likely to bully others, both online and offline. But there are studies that show that it's more important to take this into account when it comes to online bullying as well. When it comes to online bullying. So those with a lower degree of moral disengagement, they're more likely to feel regret or shame when they do something that goes against morality. So what we want is low levels of moral disengagement. So the opposite would be moral engagement. That's what we're striving for, that's what we want. A person's level of moral disengagement are influenced by how they relate to different factors, and I'm going to talk about 4 of them now. And one thing that could be one of those factors are cognitive restructuring. That's when you kind of evaluate one's action as harmless or even positive. Like if you are writing something about someone online, you could think like, I was just joking. Or one may be, you kind of justify it by calling it a joke or restructuring it into making it like, it wasn't too bad to call that person that word. It's not like I actually like assaulted him physically, it was just a word. So you kind of restructure what actually happened so you like justify it. And that could sometimes be easier when you don't see the person, which are often the case when you are writing or engaging in online communication. But you can also restructure, like, like you're maybe playing online games and you bash someone using harmful words. You justify it, you restructure it by thinking, well, it's more fun to play when he's not here. So that's why I said this, because it's more fun for the group. So you use different kind of strategies to justify your actions. How do I do it? No, I don't want to, I just want to move the notes. Oh, I need to use the mouse. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot, Smilte. Okay. And another factor is that you minimize your own personal responsibility by blaming others maybe, or you're hiding behind a group. You're kind of shifting the responsibility and not taking a personal responsibility. And that involves like you spread the responsibility maybe across the entire group, so it's not like it's not me as a specific person who does this. I don't need to take responsibility because it's all of us doing this. So you step away from that personal responsibility. And distortion of consequence is also a factor that you kind of bargain with yourself to explain that it wasn't so bad. And like if you are on this platform or if you engage in this communication, you have to endure this. This is just how it is. So I'm diminishing or not seeing through the negative consequences that it has for the victim. And then of course that you blame the victim is the most common, I would say, at least what I hear mostly when I speak to students or children, that you blame the victim. You avoid your own guilt by attributing this to the victim, that they have behaved in a certain way or they have certain characteristics that makes them a valid target, so to speak. And you can dehumanize them or you can see them as less of a victim by, we have heard a lot of examples of that today. We're talking about norm criticism also. It's the individual's own fault that he or she are victimized. So moral disengagement is a way to like cleanse your conscience, so to speak, by justifying or rationalizing offensive actions. And this is true both for all types of bullying, but like I said before, it is sometimes easier to do this in digital environments because you are not close and you are not seeing the person that are being objectified. So this is something that we can all learn from, and there are also several efforts that you can do to enhance the moral engagement, and we will talk a little bit about that later. Okay, but I will also focus a little bit more about online violence or online bullying and what actually works. And there's a lot of research about this as well, and a lot of the efforts being made are made both from, it works both on online and offline bullying. But the WHO, the World Health Organization, they issued a big report that I really recommend everyone to read. It's called What Works to Prevent Online Violence Against Children, and it's from 2022. So, and they looked at what could be done and what the evidence say, and they compiled a lot of different data and different studies, and I think maybe some of you have seen this. And it showed that preventative education programs for children are the most, the efforts that have most evidence to increase safety and health in general, as well as reducing both bullying in school and online. So we've been hearing today about some of the programs that exist, and I'm not going to go into like different programs, but what the WHO saw was that these programs that has the strongest evidence, they have some common components. So I thought we should look at them. The core components. The most successful educational programs that are based on strengthening the skills of children and young people. And they involve education about these 10 components. And I'm not going to go through each and every one of them in detail. But I think the top 8 ones are the ones that are often included in programs about bullying. When it comes to sex education and substance abuse education, it's maybe not connected directly to bullying, but the other ones are for sure. And we've heard today about self-efficacy, and some of these, you see that on the second one, the self-efficacy, resistant to peer pressure and stand up for oneself is an important one, important component. So it's about basically to be good at solving problems, to believe in yourself that you can solve problems and that you can meet difficult things in life, that you believe in yourself, that you can ask for help, that you're also good at understanding other, but also good to understand feelings, your own feelings and the feelings of other people. But also when you disagree, when there is a conflict, that you are good at fighting, that you're good, you have the skill to disagree with someone, to do that in a manner that's not degrading or humiliating or leading to bullying, but also to stand up for others. The bystander and defender mobilization is also one of the important core components. So this is the skills that we need to help ourselves, help our kids, help each other to achieve. And a lot of the programs out there are doing exactly that, which is hopeful, I think. So I just wanted to share also, maybe if you would take all these components and you just put it in a little dense, maybe like squeezing a snowball. I'm from the northern part of Sweden. We still have snow. Like if you take a lot of snow and you just put it into a little like dense, the essence of this recommendation, I would say that it has a lot to do with relationships and building strong relationships. And a few years ago, connected to the World Anti-Bullying Forum, we get the opportunity to meet a lot of the actual top experts on bullying preventions in the world. And we asked 3 of them Like if you would give one advice to a school teacher, or if you would give one advice to a school principal, what would you tell them? What should they focus on when it comes to bullying prevention? And they all said the same thing, and it was about relationships. And this is Donna Cross from Australia, Dorothy Esplosh from the US, and Pat Agaston also from the US. They are like the rock stars of bullying prevention, some of the rock stars. And they said, Donna Cross said, our recommendation is to know every student, try to know the name, try to know something about them. And Dorothy said, I say to them, work on building stronger relationships. And Patty said, build on those relationships, starting in your classroom. So I mean, I think it comes down to building relationships, and that's not maybe an easy thing to do all the time. So these are some tips from youth that we have spoken to, like as an adult that are listening to you about your problems, or when you're seeking help, what should adults do? And this is what they said, that you should invest in the relationship and actually dare to ask the questions. And when you speak, please don't do anything else at the same time. Be in an undisturbed place. Stay calm and listen to understand, maybe not always to respond to solve the problem. And thank the child for sharing, like appreciate them for doing that, and then ask them if you could give advice. Just don't give advice. Just ask them if that's what they want from the conversation. And don't do other things simultaneously. Don't stress or force anything. Don't get angry. Don't get obsessed. And don't tell anyone unless checking with the child first, unless you actually have to, if there's danger, of course, for the child. Don't be judgmental. Don't tell the kid what to do. And don't minimize the problems. Don't just like make it a less important thing. So my ending words is that it comes down to relationships. I think we can take this picture with us, that this is what we need. We need to see that no one is left floating away in the community, in the classroom, in the school, in the settings that we spend our time. It can lead to severe consequences if we do. So hold on to the kids that you meet and to each other. And now we're gonna switch to listening to Lisen, who has worked last year in a very interesting project with youth about online bullying. Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so I talked to Smilte, and I have a couple of minutes, even though it's already half past. No, I know. Okay. Yes. What am I using? Yes. Okay, so last year and continuing into this year, friends founded this project together with UNESCO, University of North Carolina, and we got funding from the Walt Disney Company to work with children and youth on global recommendations for youth online safety. And Toma was here before, but I'm not sure. She left, yes. But so during the first workshop that we had in Stockholm, we had participants from Norway, Finland, Lithuania, and Sweden. And then with the help of UNESCO, we also did regional workshops, and then we gathered everyone at the World Anti-Bullying Forum in the US this autumn. So yes, we talk a lot about online safety. We talk a lot about youth and children here. Maybe we don't always include them. So this was a project where we really wanted to hear what children and youth think themselves. That's also why I, as a project manager, didn't set up, who they should address or what the main issues were. So we did a large workshop where we worked with these questions. What makes you feel safe and unsafe online? What would you do if you encountered negative incidents? Who has the power to stop online bullying? And what would you like people, government officials, teachers, parents, peers, digital platforms, etc., to do to make you feel safe online? And so we did local recommendations for the Nordics. that we are spreading, and friends is especially spreading in Sweden, talking to politicians, and you guys, the anti-bullying community. But we also did huge global recommendations that we presented at the World Anti-Bullying Forum in the US. Yes, we're also Queen Mary. Yes, she was then the crown princess, but now Queen Mary of Denmark was also there to listen and take the advice from these youth and children. So what did they say? I have a video so that you don't need to. I think it's always difficult being here representing as an adult, even though I would have wanted the youth to be here. But as often is the case, they have school when we have these conferences. So I'm just really happy that I could gather a bunch of them to actually go to the US. But as Frida was also talking about, they talked a lot about how adults don't really understand the online environment, that there needs to be youth-led programs for youth, by youth. We have to, both in schools and in our NGOs, work closer with youth to understand what the issues are right now. We also need to stop talking about online and offline and talk about empathy and skills that are needed for, in general, both online and offline. They focused a lot on how the responsibility is within the school. Everyone goes to school, and the schools cannot say that it's something that is going on online. It's where we can actually learn and teach about online behaviors and other skills that are needed for this digitalized community. And they also talked about trusted adults and how important it is, and I think it's really important being here with Childline today, that not every child has a parent that you can confide in. I think that the advice that Frida showed goes for both parents and teachers, but it's really important to understand that NGOs that like Childline is also a very, very important source for children and youth to be able to find these trusted adults, because they may not always be in schools. We also talked a lot about how teachers and the school community needs to, you need to be able to mirror yourself. So if you're part of a minority and you have a teacher, or you have teachers that are not, it's really important that you have other adults. Okay, so yes. And they might be there through NGOs such as ours and Childline and others. Okay, so now I need to show the video instead.
My one recommendation would be to provide a comprehensive education plan for students, parents, staff at schools, so that everyone kind of understands the proper conduct and consequences and effects of what they post online.
My recommendation on online safety would be, how can social media companies have...
No, sorry, I want you to actually see where they are from. Is this? And how do I start it?
Local regulators who can inform them on local context, so that when it comes to flagging, they can easily flag anything that is bullying, anything that is harming anyone or harming the peace of our nations.
Some of my advice are to please first don't share your vacation on the real time, on the things that you share. Don't add people that you don't meet before. And please, it's so important to have your parents' approval to open an account.
I would recommend that when we're discussing online safety, moving these conversations to offline spaces as well.
My recommendation would be to social media platforms and policymakers to implement better measures, more decisive measures on how to make online spaces safer for young people.
My recommendations would be for social media platforms to come together and create a regulatory framework for privacy settings and reporting.
I have an advice for parents. You should be curious about what your children do online, but you should still respect their privacy.
My recommendation for youth online safety would be for all stakeholders to take active responsibility, including schools, teachers, parents, and youth. They have to work together to overcome what we're all facing.
My recommendations would definitely be to set screen times and focus on things outside of being on social media, because there is a whole world out there. We don't need to be spending it all on a screen.
I think I'll finish there. Yeah.